Good afternoon and welcome to the Hire for Talent webinar. Hire for Talent is a campaign that aims to raise awareness for employers who are thinking about hiring people with disabilities. My name is Paul Cormier. I'm a communications agent for Hire for Talent, and I'll be hosting the webinar today. Hire for Talent was developed by the Restigouche CBDC and funded by the Government of Canada's Opportunity Fund for Persons with Disabilities. So what I'd like to do today is go through the website and kind of give you an overview of the tools and services that are available for employers. So here we are on the main page of Hire for Talent. Let me go through quickly a little bit of what's on this page. So here at the top, we have the home page. It kind of gives you a quick layout of what's on the website. So here about us tells you a little bit about the Restigouche CBDC and also the partners and associations that help develop this website. Here on the media page, we tell you a little bit more about the awareness campaign, and also if you want to see the launch of the campaign press conference launch back in October, or if you wish to download some of the previous webinars, they're all available here on the media page. Here on the partners page, we can see the organizations that have helped the Restigouche CBDC develop this website, this awareness campaign. Now, finally, in the Contact Us page, if you want to get more information about the Hire for Talent website or the Hire for Talent campaign that aims to build an inclusive Canadian workforce, please feel free to contact our communications coordinator, Aisley Lafergie. So let's look at some of the tools that are available in the toolkit. If you look under Toolkit, you will see that there are 10 different tools that can be used to help in recruiting this untapped labor pool. If you look at the business case, there are many benefits of hiring people with disabilities. The untapped labor pool provides staffing solutions to chronic HR openings. Productivity is about skills and capacities, as well as loyalty, dedication, and satisfaction. These traits are commonly found in workers who identify as having disabilities. Workers with disabilities are very committed to their work and proud of their accomplishments. Many companies are discovering the business advantages of hiring people with physical and mental disabilities. Employers often find that workers who identify as having disabilities have unique abilities. They also tend to work harder to prove themselves. Did you know that on average, people with mild, moderate, or severe disabilities have higher educations, whether it's high school, trade school, or college, than people without disabilities? In Canada, there are over 400,000 individuals with disabilities who are currently not employed but have the potential to work. The universal design and human-centered environment concepts are applied more and more frequently to products we buy and services we receive. Inclusive designs make inclusive workplaces. This increases environmental and social accessibility for all Canadians. Did you know that in 2012, an estimated 3.8 million adult Canadians reported being limited in their daily activities due to a disability, a lack of accommodation, or a difficulty with accessibility? Hiring people with disabilities is also good for company image. Out of 803 respondents, 92% said they would give a favorable rating to a company that hired people with disabilities. We surveyed over 450 rural Canadian employers and entrepreneurs. This is how they responded to some of our questions. 81% said that some tasks in their workplace could be performed by an employee with a disability. 65% said they do not have necessary information to hire a person with disabilities, while 61% said they don't have the knowledge or services to assist in recruiting or hiring people with disabilities. This is where Hire for Talent can come in handy. We also surveyed some employers who had hired people with disabilities and asked them some questions, and here were some of their responses. We asked them if the employees that they hired had the skills required to carry out complex work assignments, to which 63% said yes. If they had a positive impact on the company image, 73% of that responded favorably. If they had a positive impact on other employees in the company, 66% said yes. If they were reliable and loyal, 69% said yes. If they were generally happy at work, 62% said yes. If they needed more supervision than other employees, 45% said yes and 34% said no. If they needed accommodations that are hard to implement in the workplace, 40% said yes, 38% said no. If the company is at higher risk of having work-related accidents, only 28% said yes and 47% said no. Tool 3 looks at the legal issues. The information in Tool 3 has been provided because many employers ask questions on this topic. The legal aspects are actually quite straightforward, with a few key points to keep in mind. This information can help make any hiring processes easier, protects the interests of employers, and ensures that the rights of all individuals are respected. Also included are references regarding where to find more information if needed. The following are two key points regarding the legal obligation of Canadian employers. One is to accommodate up to a point of undue hardship, and the other is to accommodate for both physical and mental health disabilities. Each jurisdiction in Canada has multiple sources of guidance, including employment legislation, human rights legislation, and workplace safety workers' compensation legislation. There are 4 different parts to 203. The employer's legal responsibilities, the duty to accommodate, the employee's duty to cooperate in the accommodation process, and undue hardship. Now, under the employer's responsibilities, there are several key points regarding the legal obligations of Canadian employers. A person is not required to tell an employer about a disability if he or she can do the work required without accommodation, and the disability does not pose a danger at work to the individual or others. An employer has an obligation to accommodate all disabilities up to the point of undue hardship. We'll look at that in a minute. This includes visible and non-visible disabilities. An employer also has the right to ask questions about the job function and the employee's abilities to do these rights. The employer does not, however, have the right to ask about the name of a disability or the medical diagnosis. Any information a person with a disability shares is confidential and protected. It is important to review the laws applicable to an employer's specific region. Although provincial laws vary, there are core fundamental concepts that can generally be found, including everyone should be treated respectfully and fairly regardless of a disability. Accommodations should be provided to those who require them up to the point of undue hardship. Accommodations may be needed at any stage of the employment relationship, including during recruitment. Occupational or job requirements should be reasonable and meaningful rather than arbitrary. Applicants and employees don't have an obligation to disclose a disability. However, in some cases, this would become a legal obligation. For example, applicants and employees are legally obligated to disclose a disability to an employer if the disability is likely to affect their work performance or their ability to carry out any specific job duty, or the disability could potentially create a health or safety risk to themselves or to any co-workers. Undue hardship. The Supreme Court of Canada has stipulated that a person's disabilities must be accommodated unless the employer or service provider can prove that doing so would be an undue hardship. For example, an accommodation would be considered overly burdensome if it would impose undue hardship or undue risk to the health or safety of any worker. An employer may be able to claim undue hardship if the cost of a proposed accommodation is considered excessively high, thus jeopardizing the business's survival, or if the accommodation threatens to change the business' essential nature. For example, a small business's installation of an elevator is likely undue hardship, but the installation of a front door ramp is not. And now, to give you a little break from the sound of my voice, I invite you to watch one of the 5 videos that are on the website that touch on various subjects like successful hiring practices and business advantages of hiring people with disabilities. Enjoy.
A disability is anything that impedes like your everyday life. So I mean, in my case, it's severe anxiety and post-traumatic stress. And sometimes people are just afraid of it. They hear your conditions and assume, oh, you're dangerous, or oh, you're not going to be capable, and it has nothing to do with any of that. It's usually what you went through personally or medically or physically that does that. Some people are not as understanding, or as soon as you say I have a disability, they won't hire you.
I think people should have an open mind. The fact that somebody can recognize what their disability is or where there might be challenges doesn't mean that they can't do a job, or it doesn't mean that they wouldn't be a valuable and dependable employee.
People are like, oh, this guy has a disability. He probably doesn't know, but if you teach him well, they'll know, right? It's not that hard to teach someone with disability. You just have to get to know them.
I had a lot of challenges. A lot of people didn't give me the opportunities, and so I felt useless just because you have a physical or mental challenge. Challenge doesn't mean a thing.
They just want to be included. They just want to come in, they want to do a good job and come back the next day and do that. But I get the fear for a small business, I really do. Is that person going to cost me a lot medical-wise, insurance-wise? What if they get hurt? Do I have to buy special equipment? Do I have to make any special allowances?
I think there's always fear of the unknown. When you've never experienced working alongside someone who is different than you, then you naturally have these preconceived notions. For example, this person with a disability is going to be sick all the time, or I'm going to have to do a lot of hand-holding. But what we know statistically is quite the opposite is true. When you have someone with a disability, your productivity goes up, your rate of retention goes up, which means your onboarding costs go down. It's much healthier for the bottom line.
I've never once had a negative comment from a customer or a staff member about having people work here that have disabilities. In fact, it's the exact opposite. And it changes the culture of the workplace, and it changes the culture of the employees working in that workplace in a very positive way.
They're interacting with the guests every single day. After a while, the guests are excited to see them. They bring such a positive light to the workplace.
The evidence when it's in a workplace is just so clear. They carry their weight, they do their job, and they're respected and appreciated. So I just find that it can be life-changing for just about anybody, but especially if you're someone that's been discounted for what's possible in your life.
If any employer were to reach out to any agency and just sit down and see what can be done for their type of business, then I think it could make all the difference in the world. You might find that perfect employee that was missing this whole time.
One of the things that I've heard from employers is they want to access this talent because they need to. The question is, how do they do it? And that's the great thing about Hire for Talent. It is a compilation of resources for employers. This toolkit is going to help them become more disability confident and help foster a more inclusive workforce.
Thank you. Welcome back. In Tool 4, you learn how to recruit top talent by exploring how to create your own inclusive job descriptions and job postings. The tool will also outline how service providers can provide support to employers to recruit, select, hire, and retain people with disabilities. The tool looks at the untapped labor pool, types of services available to employers, how to write an inclusive job description, and how to write an inclusive job posting. Let's look at some of the service providers available to employers. Although specific service providers may vary from region to region, they generally provide support to employers to recruit, select, hire, and retain people with disabilities. Service providers are specialists. If requested to do so by an employer, they will provide one-on-one training in the workplace to individuals with disabilities who have the potential for independent employment. Let's often ask, what tangible support do service providers offer? Well, service providers aim to guide newly hired employees with disabilities until on-the-job independence is achieved. Service providers may also help to ensure full understanding of job duties and roles, match opportunities to job seekers, suggest workplace accommodations to enhance employee performance, report to work with an employee on the first day, establish a daily work routine and schedule, accompany a new employee during the instructional phase, provide supplemental training and specific job duties as needed, help to increase the work speed of a new employee, model appropriate work-related behaviors, and or assist new employees with social integration. I'm just providing a quick overview of Tool 4. There are more details on the website. And you can also contact your local service provider specialists for more detailed information on how they can help you recruit. Tool 4 also looks at how to write inclusive job descriptions. And inclusive job descriptions is beneficial for any hiring, and when used as a regular HR practice, they can increase business efficiency by allowing managers to accurately assess an employee's work performance. It is important to define all essential job functions and to prepare job descriptions before advertising any vacancies or interviewing any applicants. Employment should be defined by a person's ability to perform the essential and critical job functions. In other words, employers may not disqualify a person from employment if he or she is unable to perform non-essential job functions. In Tool 5, you'll learn how to conduct successful interviews. Tool 5 looks at employers' responsibilities, legal interview questions, socially acceptable language, greeting a candidate with a disability, taking steps to inclusion, proper terminology, inclusive interviews, selection process, and the disability etiquette, keeping in mind that not all disabilities are visible. A person may make a request or behave in a way that seems strange to you. Their request or behavior may be disability related. Moving on to Tool 6, Hiring with Efficiency. In this tool, you will receive information on how to hire with efficiency with helpful tips, basic employee orientation, and even a checklist. You can also browse success stories from other employers. Tool 7 looks at maintaining successful employment. In Tool 7, you'll receive strategies to help you maintain successful employment. These strategies include workplace training, creating effective and inclusive workplaces, availability of accommodations, work-life balance, and ensuring that employees understand their job requirements. We look at different strategies such as training, ensuring accommodations are available to all employees, and understanding job requirements. If we look at training, workplace training is linked to employee satisfaction and increases employee retention. Accommodations aim to allow all stakeholders to be equal participants to workplace and social environments. A company's bottom line depends on productivity. If there are concerns about an employee's performance and productivity, the employer should not hesitate to act. Life-work balance is a predictor of employee motivation. Employee motivation is complex, but there are easy ways to try to identify what factors might be affecting an employee's motivation. Another strategy is creating an effective workplace. Teamwork is an important part of an effective workplace. Teamwork can become difficult if some employees are perceived as outsiders. Remember, be inclusive. Cooperating and mutual understanding are essential components of successful, inclusive workplaces. Speaking of inclusive workplaces, Tool 8 looks at creating inclusive workplaces. Here you'll learn about the benefits of inclusive workplaces and how to create and implement inclusive workplace policies. An inclusive workplace policy is a framework that fosters employee engagement by standardizing employment conditions. It also enables your company to create its own organizational culture. In Tool 9, we'll learn about job customization and how it can increase productivity, profitability, and performance. It's basically a way of combining tasks from different jobs to increase employee productivity while capitalizing on the skills and strengths of workers who identify as having disabilities. We'll also look at the job customization process, which is an extension of a company's existing skills and its capacity to increase productivity, profitability, and performance. And on the website, you'll also be able to read about job customization success stories. Tool 10 will look at how employers can be part of the change. Inclusive employers care and are active in establishing an atmosphere of diversity and inclusion among their staff. They show willingness to provide the support, tools, and flexibility that a worker needs to perform their job to the best of their ability. Here you'll discover how you can become an inclusive Canadian employer. So this concludes the quick overview of the Hire for Talent website and toolkit. Again, you can download all these tools in a printable PDF form. You can customize the tools to better fit your needs. And you can also download a condensed printable version of the Employer Toolkit. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email or to send an email to Aisley at the following addresses, and we'll be happy to answer any and all your questions. Thank you. Have a great day.